Hi, welcome to this video. This will be a reading vlog of Just Friends by Haley Pham, and I'm actually buddy reading with a friend, and I asked her if she also wanted to make some videos of her thoughts on the book. So very excited to be able to put that in as well. And the book is about, well, two people that used to be in a relationship and now it's a while later and they meet again because Blair has to come back to her hometown because she wants to care for her aunt who is struggling and, well, yeah, it's not going great, but she needs to be there for her, or wants to actually. And they meet again, and it's a second chance romance, which is something I actually haven't read before. So we'll see how I feel about that trope. I don't have a physical copy to actually show you again, but we're reading it and we're almost at the same time right now. I have listened to an hour and 10 minutes, and she's listened to an hour and 40 minutes, something like that. And the book in total is like 10 hours. You know what? I'm just gonna dive right into my first thoughts about the book. I've listened to 5 or 6 chapters, but it still feels like an introduction to the story, and it doesn't yet actually feel like the story is started. I just feel like, okay, when are we getting to the juicy stuff? When is it starting, kind of? They used to be best friends and had a really good relationship, and I think at some point it turned into more than just friendship. Then something happened. I don't know what happened. He had an accident or he had an injury, or I'm not sure, but they stopped talking. Then at some point she moved away to go study. Well, she got a degree, but then she went back to her hometown and she just needed a job for the time being. So she ended up going to this coffee shop where the male main character, whose name I've forgotten, where he works, he's kind of pretending not to know her, which is a bit weird. And I'm thinking, this is a theory. Maybe did he have like some type of memory loss, and is that why he doesn't know her? And he's not pretending not to know her, but he actually doesn't know her? Could that be what's happening? Because otherwise, I don't know why he's pretending not to know her. Like, that's kind of annoying. Maybe this is going to be some reveal at the end that you're going to figure out why they broke up in the first place. But I'd rather just know, you know? I don't like not knowing. I need to know, why did they break up? What happened? Who broke up with who? I don't know, and that annoys me. But I am actually enjoying this book. I really like where it's going. I do think I think Lottie's gonna die. Why did I say I am enjoying this book? I think this person is not gonna survive. Okay, yeah, that's not. But I feel like it's gonna be a wholesome moment where she might get closer to her mom, or where it's just gonna be like a life lesson that she's gonna learn from it. And I feel like they are gonna deal with grief in a good way, but it's not going to be the main thing of the book. And now I'm just going to continue listening and give you updates along the way. Next up, you'll see my good friend and fellow book club girly Ivana introduce herself and tell you her first thoughts on the book.
Hi, my name is Ivana. I've been friends with Noortje for about 15 years, and together with some other girlfriends, we have a book club together. But right now, we are gonna buddy read Just Friends. I'm normally not a romance reader. I'm gonna mention it many times, but normally I really like reading Scandinavian thrillers or horror, and I like reading literature books, and then specifically Dutch or by European writers. Also, if you think about me, magic realism is like a building block in my life, as well as I think my favorite writer, who sadly passed away, Carlos Ruiz Zefron. I love his books. Also, kind of the magic realism set in beautiful Barcelona. So that's what I normally read. And maybe in the next Buddy Reads, we can read one of those books. But for now, we are gonna read Just Friends by Haley Pham. I'm excited. I've watched Haley even before she did BookTok and BookTube videos, so I'm curious to see for her first book. Let's get reading. I just read like the first 5 or 6 chapters of Just Friends on my e-reader, and I gotta say, for now, it's just a bit slow. Like, it's about 20% of the story right now that I've read, but for me as a non-romance reader, I'm like, when is the story really getting started? Like, what's going on right now? It's a bit boring in my opinion, so I hope it's gonna come quickly. Like, what happened between Blair and Declan? Fan of the names, you have to say that. But I'm just like, when is the story gonna pick up the pace?
I'm a little over halfway, and stuff has happened. It doesn't feel like an introduction anymore, so that's good. I still don't exactly know what the accident was, why Declan, that's his name. But I don't know exactly what happened, but I think it was like a football injury, something like that. By the way, this video is full of spoilers, especially from now on. Just gonna talk honestly about everything that happened in the book, so these are spoilers. Here are some things that happened. So Lottie, her great aunt, it's not her aunt, it's her great aunt, but she did pass away, and they had this funeral, and there was this scene where Blair was trying to keep her laughter in because she saw how people were like trying to convey their compassion towards her, and she was trying not to laugh because of that. But that seemed a little bit silly to me while reading it. I was like, okay, so you're at a funeral of somebody you really care about, and then you're struggling with keeping your laughter inside. Like, okay. But then the book also mentioned that maybe it was a coping mechanism, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that it makes sense, I guess. He did show up to the funeral to kind of be there for her, and then he did acknowledge that they used to know each other, kind of, but it's weird that he didn't before, I think, but maybe that will become a little bit more clear somewhere along the way. Here's the thing, I've been a little bit influenced by other people reviewing this book because I heard people talking about like how Haley Pham is using big words. And I do think that when writing a book, obviously you're going to spend more time thinking of what kind of words to use, because when you're just talking, yeah, you're using the words that come to mind. And then later on, you might realize, like, oh, I could have used this word to describe something. So when you're writing a book, obviously you have more time to think it through, and you can add words and change them out, and it makes a lot of sense. But because I did hear people mention that, I was kind of noticing it a little bit. I have a few examples. So she was like, heaving diaphragm, and I'm like, okay, it felt unnecessary or something, and the sight of them intertwined, which is like totally normal, but in that situation, it was like such a intense situation that I felt like it didn't need the extra words, if that makes sense. Um, oh, tectonic plates of friendship. Why? I don't know. That felt weird. And shaking his head infinitesimally or something. That's a word I had to look up, because the other ones, like, it made sense. It's fine. But yeah, I think I'm only noticing it because I heard other people say this in their review, and that's why I'm like more aware of it. But overall, I think it's quite well written, and it's yeah, it has a nice flow to it. Another scene that happened was when there was this ball, the school ball that was coming up. Declan and Blair decided to go together, and that was kind of a cute scene. And what I also thought was a cute scene was when he was playing football and she was looking at him and saw in his eyes that he was gonna make a certain throw, and that it's like usually that throw wouldn't go well, but she saw that it was going to work out and she saw it in his eyes or something. I thought that was pretty cute, and that's also when they had their first kiss. It wasn't that like tension packed or something, it was just cute. But that's also nice sometimes. But then they do decide to get into a relationship. Declan wants to do a scholarship like with football and sports. I know nothing about sports. Anyway, he wants to do that, and he does get an offer to go to a certain place, but it's far out and they're not going to be close to each other. So it would have to be like a long distance relationship. And then they end up talking about like, how are we going to do that? Or are we going to like give up? And then he comes up with this plan that she can just come with him and that he's going to be this amazing footballer and he's going to be able to provide for her and they're going to stay in love and it's all going to be great. But the thing is, her mom and dad, they got together in that way that he said he was going to provide for her, and then he ended up just leaving. So she didn't want to fall in those footsteps, which I think is very realistic. I mean, maybe it's a little bit unfair to put that on him and be like, you're going to do the exact same thing my dad did. You don't know that, but also they're just teenagers. Like, I do think it's realistic to say it's not going to work out. We're going to be long distance. I don't want to like depend on you, which I think that's fair. You know, that's why they broke up and they're young. So, I guess that whole second chance romance, I'm okay with it if it's that way. Next up, you'll see Ivana, her thoughts when she continued. I'm sorry we didn't exactly like coordinate which chapter we were on.
So today I read 3 chapters of Just Friends. First of all, Rip and Lottie, because I didn't expect her to pass away this quickly. I hoped she could like see a bit of the relationship between Blair and Declan, but sadly not. There were some other things that stood out to me. I really liked that we finally got the moment they actually became like boyfriend girlfriend at the football game, and then directly after that their first date. I gotta say, I really like the mentioning of the Australian program. For me, that's H2O, I believe, and I was a really big H2O fan back in the day when I was a teenager. Besides that, I'm just curious, like, what's gonna happen for Blair, because she has to work like after hours or something, I believe, with Declan. So I'm curious to see like what happened all those years ago, like why they split up and why the relationship is how it is today. So tomorrow I'm going to Amsterdam and I will be on a train for about 4 hours in total. So hopefully I can get a bit more reading done. I hope to get more information about why they split up and why the relationship is as it is today, because otherwise it's a bit too slow for me. I need something to really grasp my attention right now, because you know it's just a bit slow for me, but we're gonna see.
I have 1 hour left in this audiobook, and something happened that annoys me so much. It's the miscommunication trope. I don't like that at all. I hate it so much. So basically, back when he had an accident, it wasn't actually sports related, but there was a car accident. So he got hit by a car, and that's the accident he was in, and the injury he got from that made him not able to play football anymore. He was like at bed rest, and she wanted to see him, so she went to his house, but his mom said that Declan didn't want to see her. So she assumed that he didn't want to see her because of the fight and that they were over and they weren't in a relationship anymore. And then she left for college. He apparently reached out to her with an email, but she didn't receive it. So for 4 years, they didn't speak to each other because they both thought the other person didn't want to see them. If your best friend got into an accident and was like seriously injured, yes, you show up at their house, and if you're not let in, you're gonna be persistent. You're gonna be like, I need to come in. I need to see the person. You're gonna text. You're gonna email. Like, how can you say somebody's your best friend and then just show up once and be like, oh, you don't want to see me? Okay, fine. Then we're not gonna see each other. What? It's and then her like rationalizing that was that she thought he didn't want to see her, so she wasn't gonna put in more effort if like it's not. Girl, he was in an accident. You're gonna keep calling and keep trying. And on his part, sending one email and being like, oh, you didn't reply, so I thought it was over. Send a text, call her, like try a bit more. But like after one try, just give up. It's your best friend and also somebody you were kind of dating. So that doesn't make sense to me. I don't mind fluffy romance books. I like them. And I'm I'm liking this book, but I just don't like miscommunication. That's what annoys me. Because right now, they decided to get back together because they were talking about, like, oh, you didn't want to see me. And they were like, no, you didn't want to see me. You know, the Spider Man thing. Like, you, no. Um, so then they realized, oh, so we both wanted to see each other and we're kind of chill now or whatever. So they're hanging out again. Lottie actually left Blair a house. How nice is that? But it's across the street from Declan, and they decided to get back together or at least try. So she went with him on a date to a fundraiser or something or other that his mom was organizing. And immediately you notice his mom is not a nice person. So I do think Haley wrote that in a good way because you're immediately like, that's the villain. But I'm assuming, pretty sure, that the mom didn't let her in because she doesn't like her. The mom is very much into like fancy things and titles, and she thinks Blair will not help him. Now she's getting in her head about, aren't you grieving? Should you really be going out with my son while you're grieving? Because that's not good if you're gonna hurt him. She's manipulating. She's being a bit rude. What I don't like also is that then Blair doesn't talk to him. To be fair, they're like, this is like the first week of them being together or whatever. And I guess in the beginning of a relationship, you're not as open with each other, maybe. And I don't know if you can necessarily group this under miscommunication, but I don't like the way they communicate right now. I mean, there's some depth to it, I guess, because with Harper and that she has a drinking problem and that Declan is trying to help her. That's actually really sweet. That's cute that he's, being nice and being there for her. I have mixed feelings about the book. Right now I'm thinking it could be like a 3 or 3.5 star. I mean, I don't know exactly at which chapter Ivana is at, but I'll add her thoughts and feelings in next, and then afterwards I'll have my final thoughts and final rating.
So I read 5 chapters today on my train ride to Amsterdam. I mean, if my face was filmed in a train, it was like I was like rolling my eyes, and because of like the big flashback argument thing when Blair and Declan were studying at his house and they found like this acceptance letter for his university. And I think I was also a bit influenced by Louis Theroux's Into the Manosphere, I believe it's called. I just got those vibes. I have a quote that I highlighted and I added like, what the fuck, bro? And that was the quote, if I make it into the NFL, and I will make it, those contracts would be able to support this entire town. You wouldn't have to think about working at all. Your mom could retire. Isn't that your dream? And of course, Blair coming from, a family where she basically grew up only with her mom and Lottie. Yeah, like an independent woman, and that the guy is like, I could provide for this whole town, basically what he's saying. I'm like, no, I got such Manosphere vibes from that. For the rest, the story is getting better, like I'm entertained in some way. Am I really enjoying it? No, I do find it a bit rough to get through. After half an hour, I'm already like, not entertained enough to keep on reading for like an hour. Like the only things that I'm maybe a bit interested about still is like what's the big argument that they split up for like in those years. And like the guy she met at the coffee shop, and like what's the thing with them now kind of living across from each other because she inherited like this house from Lolly. Also, like how did her mom and Blair did not know about that she had that little house? Like, I know about like my aunt and uncle's house at the lake and that they have a sailing boat, and people know that about us, that we have a sailing boat. And I'm like, how did you not know when you lived with Lottie for so long? And the bowling, he was only talking to her. So I mean, I feel like deep down he still definitely has feelings for Blair. So I'm curious to see how just that's gonna evolve. And hopefully I find it entertaining enough to keep on reading. I want to finish it Saturday, so I have like 2 more days of reading. So we're gonna see.
Hi, update time. I have finished the book, and he did actually say that he didn't want to see her, but just because he was so weak and sick and he didn't want to see her, so he did tell her mom to send her away. So it wasn't the mom's fault. Then later on, he did write a letter, and his mom decided not to send it because she wanted to stick to his original plan of not seeing her. That was not fair, and she should have just sent the letter, but it's clearer, I guess. I will say I actually really liked the ending of this book. Like the last few chapters, they were really good. I really enjoyed them. And her friends came to see her, and they were so nice and supportive. And I think it was just good to see that she does have a good relationship with them, because I was kind of thinking like these friends aren't even asking her how she's doing, but they didn't know that they had such a good connection. So I feel like it's good that they spoke a little bit more, and that they also told her like it's probably his mom that wants to keep you apart and it's not him. So that was really beautiful as well, because she wanted to be there for him after the accident, and she didn't care that he was not doing well. She would just wanted to be there for him. And now he's the same way. Like she's not doing great because of Lottie. He's just like, I want to be there for you, even in the hard times, you know? So that's actually really, really sweet. Yeah, I really enjoyed the ending. So that was just very nice. I listened to the last hour while I was walking outside, and I actually went to a little secondhand store and I got this thing. It's a cat and he's reading. He's holding his own tail to keep mark of like where he is at the page, and he has like these little glasses. It's just it's so cute. He had a chat with his mom, which I think is also very good that they talked it out, and she gave him the letter and he gave it to her and she read it, and it was such a sweet, like it was a really sweet letter. And I guess I do understand, because in the letter he literally said like, if you don't reply to this letter, I'll know you won't want to see me again. So I get it, I guess. And I guess I was a bit unfair in saying like, you're never gonna see, like I mean, I still think she could have tried harder, or he could have also texted or whatever, but I was a bit harsh. I didn't fully understand the circumstances. But no, the thing that bugged me though, the last chapter, it's like an epilogue, 6 months later, and he asks her to marry him. 6 months. What? That's a bit quick. But yeah, the whole thing with the pebble in the birdhouse, because he had a nickname for her, and those birds give each other a pebble to show that they love each other, something like that. So he gave her a pebble in a birdhouse that he made for her. That was really cute. That was a cute detail. 3.25? I don't know, but it's good. I did enjoy it, and especially the last few chapters really added to the story. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna give it a 3.5 because I think it was pretty good. And especially considering it's her first book, that's usually how I do my rating. Like if it's a 3 star, I was annoyed with something. And okay, to be fair, I was annoyed with something, but I just looked on my Fable at other books that I gave 3.5 stars to, and it's like, yeah, fair enough. It belongs with those books. So, just to wrap it up, my final thoughts on the book are that it was pretty good. I was annoyed at some things, at the miscommunication, which ended up being kind of settled in a way. So, I guess it wasn't that big of an annoyance because it got solved, kind of. And I was also annoyed with some of the words that were chosen that I'm like, it didn't need that. Other than that, I did think it was a good story. So 3.5 stars is my final rating. And now let's have a look at what Ivana thinks about the book and what her final rating is.
I just finished Just Friends. I read, I think, a bit less than half of the book just in one sitting, or at least in one day. And I think some of the things I just want to pick out is like the gala thingy from his parents, that suddenly she's like doubting herself, and that's directly she texts her friend and the friends, and they directly like, yeah, we're coming, girl, and like talking out of her head, like, why be insecure right now when you always was like, yo, I'm gonna do this. So great friendship. For the rest, oh, the part with the letter, she eventually gets the letter, but she finds the letter Declan wrote all those years ago. Great letter that he wrote, like, guys, take some notes, you know, but like Declan is just a nice guy and directly runs to Declan after reading. And you know, my thoughts were just like, Declan wrote that letter, he asked his mom, like, can you send it off to Blair? That the mom didn't send the letter. I'm like, you know, from her perspective is like, oh, maybe, you know, I want to protect her, because how it was written in the book was like, from her point of view, she was the one who left, so just out of protection. But I'm like, your son wrote a letter, like, not every boy would do that. So happy they're back together. And then, you know, like the ending of them being together, going to the beach, and with the bird pebble thing like in the beginning, and then like asking her to marry him. But that was kind of cutesy. I mean, I'm just, because I'm not a romance reader, it was a bit like too rosy colored for me. It was just too, as I learned from Noortje, too fluffy. I was just a bit rolling my eyes because I find it not realistic. From a non-romance reader, my advice is, if you like want like a palette cleanser and you want something like summery or spring, then sure, read it. Maybe don't rush through the book like I did. But for her first book, I think it was fine. Sometimes some words for me were a bit difficult, but English is not my first language. And it was a bit, yeah, too fluffy, too rosy colored for me personally, that I was like, you know, it's not really realistic. And somewhat the miscommunications is, for me personally, was like, not it. And also, I'm remembering this now, but the fact that Declan calls her little birds, oh, skin crawling. I hated it. I really didn't like that. I wouldn't want to be called little bird. But if that's what they all found funny and things, fine. Conclusion, it was a fine book, a romance book. I think for her first book, she did good. She can definitely learn from this. Oh yeah, I remember now. I appreciate there wasn't any spicy scenes. I personally don't like them. I don't think they add anything to the story. No spice, love it. But to round it up, I think first fine book from Haley. If she would come out with a second one, I probably wouldn't read it, because it's not really up my alley, unless like the reviews are like, oh, this is so much better than Just Friends. And like I said before, if you're looking for like a palette cleanser, if you're not a romance reader, or maybe you want to get into romance, I think it might be a good start. If you're looking for something more cutesy, fun, second romance.
I just wanted to thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed seeing two point of views on this book. Also, Ivana, thank you so much for joining me in making this video. I really enjoy being able to share this like love of reading with you, and I think that's very fun. And I think it's also fun that we have a bit of a different opinion on books and a different genre we like. So I really enjoyed doing this. And if you have any opinions on this book, you can share them. Or if you have another video idea that I can do with someone else, then that will also be a fun thing you can share. And yeah, if you like this video, you can like and subscribe. That would really make me happy. That sounds so. That would make me happy. Okay. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. You can see my guitar in the background because I'm at my parents' house right now. I used to play guitar. Maybe one day I'll pick it up again. I did enjoy playing guitar. Not good at it, but I did enjoy it. So who knows? Maybe one day I'll share some music with you. No, let's not even make that. No. Bye.